They say the most dangerous animal in the forest isn't a bear or a mountain lion. It's a group of self-important folks with clipboards and a taste for power. That's not a joke. Ask anyone who's ever gone toe-to-toe with an HOA 12 miles out of bounds. That's how it started for me, Noah Brenner, former Army engineer, now a consultant patching up wildland instead of battlefields. I bought my 800 acres near Lake Graywood, Montana, with sweat paperwork and every cent I had. Clean title, every boundary mapped and logged with the county and the state. Every July, we do the same thing, load up the old SUV pack, biodegradable soap, way too many snacks for the kids, and head into our patch of real breathing wilderness, no Wi-Fi, just bare boxes and the sound of loons at dusk. This year started like every other. Ivy chased dragonflies around the cove. My son whittled a bench from a fallen cedar. And Laura, my wife, made order out of the chaos we always bring. That first night, we roasted marshmallows by the fire pit, and I figured nothing could touch us. Then Monday rolled in like a cold front. I'm stretching a tarp when I see two strangers, neon vests, khaki polos, and those smug little HOA badge lanyards marching down my gravel drive. A Prius behind them, Lakeshore Pines, HOA Environmental Oversight Unit magnet on the door. My gut clenched. You know that feeling, like you just remembered you left the stove on. Only it's your whole life that's on fire. Clipboard guy barely acknowledges me. This area has been reported as a restricted eco-sensitive zone, he announces. We're here to document unauthorized land use and issue formal notice. I don't even get a good morning. The woman with the iPad pipes up lakefront access, falls under HOA jurisdiction. You're violating conservation bylaws. I try not to laugh. Ma'am, your HOA stops 12 miles south at the old fire road. This isn't your community, not by a long shot. But she's got a new term-ready visual asset, she says, because someone from their board can see my lake from their porch, so now my cove is their business. I tell them to leave. Unless you brought a county surveyor or a sheriff, get off my property. They do, but not before staking a sign by my drive, HOA Environmental Oversight Zone, under monitoring. I yanked it out and tossed it aside, but the air that night felt heavier. A drone buzzed along the tree line, too slow, too steady for a firefly. I started documenting everything. By midweek, I found a cream-colored envelope in my P.O. box notice of preliminary environmental violation and temporary use suspension. Someone, let's just say someone who spends a lot of time on Facebook, had filed a complaint, claimed we were polluting driving on protected watershed, breaking every rule in a rule book I'd never signed up for. Laura read over my shoulder while Ivy played in the dirt. What do we do? She asked. I just shook my head. We document. I scanned deed survey maps, licenses, dumped it all in the cloud. I pulled drone footage from the night that sign appeared, caught him red-handed, flashlight hammer and all. Sent it to the county sheriff, suspected harassment. Called the Environmental Licensing Bureau. Mr. Brenner, the woman said after checking my file, your site's pre-certified for ecological restoration. Whoever filed this complaint either misunderstood your status or deliberately omitted it. That was a bingo. My attorney, Kevin, filed a motion to freeze the county's violation, demanded a hearing. We had all the paperwork, all the proof. But the HOA crew was just getting warmed up. That's when Karen herself arrived, clipboard in hand, hair sprayed so hard I thought she was prepping for a hurricane. You've been served, she announced, handing me a letter full of fake seal citations and official-sounding threats about water table abuse. I said, you're 12 miles out of your jurisdiction, Karen. The law's not on your side. She tried to drag my kids into it. It's a shame bringing children into this mess. That was the last straw. 20 seconds to get off my land before I call the sheriff, I said. And next time, it won't just be for trespassing. But Karen didn't back down. She doubled down. Next, a local journalist emailed us looking for comment about developer pollution at Graywood Lake. Community Facebook lit up with blurry photos of our tents and comments like, "Is this why the fish are dying?" The narrative was spinning out of control, so I went on offense. I pulled together water quality data, GPS logs, drone flyovers, every piece of evidence that showed not only were we clean, but the HOA's own southern inflow pipe was the real source of phosphate contamination. Graywood Labs had the receipts detergent-rich gray water leaching into the lake years in the making. I called Elena a contact at the Department of Natural Resources. She listened, asked for my evidence, and said, "We'll take it from here." That night, the local news ran a segment, "Private landowner accused of encampment on protected shoreline." Karen gave a tearful interview on her deck talking about stewardship and vigilance. I just about threw the camp TV in the lake. By morning, I'd uploaded everything: footage, maps, water reports, to a public drive and blasted it to reporters, ecologists, anyone who cared about the truth. It hit Twitter 4,000 shares overnight. Suddenly, Karen's grip started slipping. Friday, a helicopter thundered over the Lake Department of Natural Resources, stenciled on the side. Elena called. "We're sending a field team. You're under review, but you've got nothing to hide." She showed up with GIS tablets and state credentials, went over every inch of our camp. While they were there, Karen pulled up again, this time with a lawyer in a gold HOA lapel pin. Elena cut them off. "Unless you're under DNR authorization, leave. This is private territory." Karen tried to argue. Her lawyer just stared at his shoes. By the time Elena left, she said, "They've overplayed their hand. We'll escalate." The very next day, the county attorney's office announced a joint investigation against HOA Lakeshore Pines. Illegal runoff, forged public reports, unauthorized signage. Elena forwarded satellite data, runoff pipe leaks, years old, right from HOA land into my lake. And still, Karen spun the story: press conferences on manicured lawns, laminated maps waving in the wind. But the walls were closing in. County records confirmed the HOA's signs were posted on my land. Trespassing, tampering, all on tape. We held a press meet, no podium, just me and my family by the fire ring. Ivy explained composting toilets. Laura showed reporters our water filter bags. I laid out the facts: my land, my license, their fake reports, and the kicker: HOA's southern drain was the real polluter. National media picked it up. Ecofascism, Montana landowner fights, HOA overreach. Comment sections exploded. Everyone had a story about land, HOAs, and justice. Of course, Karen fired back with a lawsuit, claimed defamation, intimidation, campaign, invasion of privacy because of my trail cams. My attorney laughed. She filed in county court. Now we get discovery. That's when the real gold came out. Hundreds of pages, board emails, internal reports, even Karen herself writing, "If we prove ecological damage, we can push an overlay claim." Their own maintenance logs confirmed their runoff pipe had been flagged for algae blooms, ignored, swept under the rug. My practices: the state wrote, exceed minimum ecological standards, full compliance. That Friday, county sheriff's deputies served a compliance notice on the HOA. Turns out their drainage crossed onto my land, illegal encroachment. Karen had built their sewage system on property she never owned. Watching the sheriff's team flag my boundary stones and take soil samples, I won't lie, that felt good. Court date rolled around. The courtroom buzzed: local reporters, state officials, even the old ranger who signed my first trail permit. Karen showed up with her lawyer and board members. Her argument: we acted in good faith for the environment. Kevin stood up. "Your Honor, the HOA knowingly trespassed, filed false reports, polluted state waters, then tried to pass it off as stewardship for control." The judge's eyebrow nearly hit the ceiling. We presented drone footage, Karen and her crew hammering in protected zone signs deep inside my property. County water experts testified. Chemical markers trace contamination right back to HOA fertilizer and detergents. Karen took the stand, tried to play confused. Kevin read her own email. "If we can't control the property, we control the narrative." The courtroom went dead quiet. When the ruling came, it was everything we'd hoped for. The judge called the HOA's actions deliberately misleading, coercive, and unlawful. $620,000 in penalties for environmental harm, $175,000 from Karen personally for defamation and obstruction. Signs to be pulled, drainage structures removed, full environmental remediation ordered. All charges against me dismissed, an official apology from the county entered into record. 2 weeks later, Karen resigned. Her house was up for sale, foreclosure pending. The state put Lakeshore Pines under outside management, slashed their budget, replaced the signs near my land with no jurisdiction beyond this point. I threw a festival, Wilderness Wines, we called it. Rangers, hikers, families, even a few ex-HOA members came. That night, with the fire crackling and the lake quiet, I looked over my land and thought about how something so simple, just wanting to be left alone, could spiral into a war over control power. And in the end, justice. Here's the part that sticks with me, and maybe it will stick with you. Power doesn't always show up in jackboots. Sometimes it wears khakis, carries a clipboard, and smiles while it redraws the lines around your life. Stand your ground. Know your boundaries, literal and otherwise. The wild will always find a way to bite back. Sometimes the most civilized thing you can do is defend what's yours, not with anger, but with truth. So now I'll ask you, where do you draw the line between community and control? When does stewardship become overreach? Drop your story in the comments or tell me, what would you have done? Ever had to fight for your own little patch of freedom? Let's hear about it, because as we all just saw, sometimes justice really does show up at the end of a dirt road.